welcome to another episode of Conversations. I'm your host, Daron Jenkins, and joining me on the show today, my nephew. Once he finds out that I'm doing this podcast, he's going to be so mad at me for not inviting him. Rob Colletti, who plays the baddie in the second season of One Piece. Welcome to the show, man. This is... trust me, my nephew's going to be so mad.
I hope not. Tell him he's cool. That you're cool. It's not something that you should be mad about. It's something you should be proud of you for.
Well, you know what's funny is like for the better. So when we exchange like recommendations for things to watch on streaming and stuff, and for the past year or so, he's been trying. He's like, have you seen One Piece yet? I said, no, I haven't seen it yet. He's like, you gotta see it. It is so good. And I was like, okay. I still, like, I haven't caught up to it, but it's like everybody's talking about this, man. You are like, I mean, this, yeah. Anyway, thank you for being on the show, really.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, first, let's start from the beginning. Where are you originally from?
Actually born and raised in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up, in the suburbs, but did actually live in Chicago proper for a long time, good 10 years. And kind of spent my childhood playing baseball and sports, and kind of never really even considering theater or acting or anything along those lines. And just kind of lived a very Americana, typical, middle class life that I never would have foreseen a trajectory like this coming.
Yeah. So how did that happen? I mean, how does one go from not having it in his mind to suddenly being in the genre?
Well, it's a kind of a fluke, actually. A funny story. I was, like I said, I grew up playing baseball, and I thought that was the path I would take. I was pretty convinced from a young age that I would be trying to go pro as a baseball player. Whether it would be just going to the minors or higher, I don't know. But that was the goal. I mean, I was, seeing coaching and, doing private weightlifting and all those things to try and like build my body in a way that would have allowed for that to happen. I was also kind of in the young junior pro golf circuit for a while. Not like at a high level, but I was learning, getting coaching again, same thing, at a local course with a local pro, and going down the path of eventually trying to make my way into that world. And one day, in my freshman year of high school, there's in the baseball program, there was an after school thing about 2 weeks before the season started, where they would begin this workout thing in the program, where the freshmen would come in and work out with the sophomores and the varsity players before the actual season started, just to see what your level was at. The coach would get a good idea of where on the team he would put you and all that stuff. And on the very first day of this workout session, it was scheduled for 5-something p.m. if I remember correctly. School got out around 3, whatever it was, so I had a couple of hours to kill, and I was just going to go. I walked from my locker over towards the gym to just begin doing some hand drills and stretching and all that. And on my way, I was stopped by a friend who was standing by his locker, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to this baseball thing." He said, "I was, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, I'm going to audition for this spring musical. You want to come with me?" And I was like, "No."
You're like, what?
No, I don't. What are you talking about? And he was like, "Come on, just come sit with me. It'll be fun. You got time to kill." And I was like, "All right, I do got to go in like 30 minutes so I can start my stuff, but sure, I'll come sit with you for a little bit." And I go, and we literally, as we turned the corner to walk to this little area where the little theater was, where they were having the auditions, the stage manager was out with like her little clipboard, or I don't know if it was the assistant director or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember. And she's like pointing to people. What's your name? What's your name? And she looked over at us two as we were approaching, and she looked at me first, and she goes, "What are you auditioning for?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not. I'm just hanging out with him." And she said, "No, you're auditioning. Come in." And literally, she pulled me in first and gave me a piece of paper and had me read it. And I got
Wow.
cast as Mr. Green in Clue the Musical. Uh, my high school with no preparation, anything like that. And I went home that next day after the cast list went up, and I told my parents what was going on, my mom specifically, and she was like, "Well, you may never have an opportunity to do something like this again, so it's really up to you. Do you want to sort of learn what another experience would be like?" You would have to pick between the two. You wouldn't be able to do freshman baseball, and it wasn't like I just decided randomly, well, I'm going to do this thing that I just kind of don't really like. I actually, when I was in the room auditioning for it, I could feel that I was good at it. Like I kind of like got swept up in the moment of this challenge, and kind of just rose to the moment, rose to the occasion, and delivered enough that they cast me. They were like seniors, people who've been doing this for a long time in the show. But I really felt like it was something that like I had a natural affinity towards, and I wanted to try it. And I had the time of my life. I just fell in love with it. I completely abandoned sports entirely for it. Like I did every play in high school for the rest of a musical for the rest of my high school career. I still did like some park district recreational sports just to kind of like scratch the itch, but it dwindled off over the 4 years I was in high school. And by the time I was in my senior year, I was applying to schools to study theater in college because it spoke to my soul in such a deep way, and I've never looked back.
It's funny that you like this is the story because I often see the comparables between being an athlete and being an actor, like especially in theater, because it's in front of an audience, it's live, and that energy that comes from the like applause and the gratitude and people paying you of doing what you're doing is very similar to like being a basketball player or a football player or a baseball player when you're first getting started and you're playing in like the lower leagues and stuff, and you sit like, wow, you're like, whoa, I'm actually kind of good at this. Okay, because they're they both require a lot of, I mean, you really have to like love it because in the beginning it could be a little frightening, both being an athlete, being an actor. Um, that's I find that fascinating, and how luckily that you actually fell into that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it very well could have just walked down a different hallway that day and
Yeah.
never have been exposed to it in the least. But you're so right. The comparisons or the overlap is extremely high. Being particularly a Broadway actor, it's an athletic feat. I mean, you're on stage 8 shows a week. You have just an immense amount of physical preparation that goes into keeping your body in the condition that's required to sustain that kind of physical stamina, the toll that it takes on your body. All Broadway productions have a built-in physical therapy program
Oh,
that
wow.
you encourage you to take advantage of because your legs get beat up, your soft tissue muscle gets really overworked. I mean, there are elements, and then that's to say nothing of your vocal cords, your voice, the hydration and sleep that's required. I actually have just recently lost about 90 pounds because I've been preparing for another role, A, but B, I just had kind of gotten to a point in my life where I had been treating my body pretty poorly. I was living a lifestyle that was not conducive to the positive physical requirements that are kind of necessary to sustain a good life in this line of work. And part of I had a massive amount of weight gain during a very serious leg injury
Mm.
where I had torn ligaments off of a bone, and doctor even told me at one point like it would have been better if you broke it rather than have just had this
Mm.
injury because the recovery time would have been half as long. But during that period of time, you get depressed. I got sedentary, and just kind of let things spiral out of control. But once I was finally able to like kind of regain my physical stature, and once I wrapped on one piece, it was about a year and a half after this injury had occurred. I just kind of got tired of how I was feeling, and it took the bull by the horns when this other opportunity came. And I'm just, very, very, I have a go getter mindset. When I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And in just all this to say, during this period of time of this last year, about 10 months now, that I've lost this weight and have kind of gotten back into my old athlete form,
Mm,
ironically. It's this
mm.
thing I've spent my life kind of completely avoiding the last 15 plus years. I've now just like sprinted back towards and found a real centering of myself in. I've really tied the correlations between the two back together. The emotional and physical discipline that's required, the consistency, the determination, and really it just comes down to discipline. And
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate in that I may have instilled some positive habits within myself as a youngster that have allowed to just naturally reawaken by going through the process. But there's so much overlay between the two, and they have so much more in common, I think, than they would really ever admit to themselves separately.
Yeah, the one thing, the only thing I don't like, I also was an athlete, and the only thing that I like, I do miss playing football, but I also don't miss playing football because I grew up around like the time in the NFL when like concussions and broken bones and hard hits and all these things were happening. So I never will ever be sorry that I chose to move off of that. But I am happy that I have to have that background, because same thing happened to me, dude. I tore all the muscles in my foot, and I was off my feet for a year and ended up gaining like 35, 40 pounds. And because I couldn't walk for a year, and then it took me 6 months to relearn how to walk. And I feel like if I didn't have that athletic mindset in the first place, it would have made that recovery and redemption a little bit harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so with this role of yours, I mean, I was I was online looking at some stuff here, and I want to read you a comment someone made on social media about your role as Wapol.
Okay.
I'm gonna read you two, actually. The first one is, I so hated him. He did a really great job. They really bought into the character. And this other one, bro, this man deserves an award. He did a great job. I'm speechless. And this was not these. This was one of many that I was reading that were similar. Um, you can. I'm gonna ask you this question because I've always wanted to play a bad guy. I love the bad guy, and I have to ask, what was it like to be able to like play this character? So, how much did you know about One Piece upon getting the audition?
Very little. I've had, I think, kind of contextually a very vague understanding of the iconography of the hat,
Right.
that Luffy wears. I think I have recalled seeing that in a couple places, but I've told this story a couple times now recently. Have you ever, or this, I've asked about this a couple times recently. Have you heard of the phenomenon of where you don't know where something is, then you learn about it, and then suddenly you see it everywhere?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was One Piece for me. I had no idea what it was. Then again, when I got the audition, it didn't say that it was for One Piece. It had a different project name. it had a different character name, and they actually wrote scenes that were just written for the audition. They weren't a part of the actual show at all. That were just kind of like vaguely of the character and the story arc.
Mm.
Um, so I just kind of went into it blind and did my own little take on what I had read. And then when my agent told me what it was, I kind of had to do a very short research before I found out exactly how big and massive it was. And actually, about a week after I got the phone call, 2 weeks after I got the phone call, I had a trip planned at the time to go to Vegas to see Dead and Company at the Sphere.
Hmm.
And as we're flying in on the airplane into Vegas from New York, on the Sphere was the One Piece thing spinning,
That's
and then
crazy.
we're walking through the concourses underground at all the shopping malls and seeing One Piece posters and the hat at little shops, and it's all over New York on buses, and it's just it very quickly proved to be ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And I just kind of rolled with the punches. But the fact that it was a villain is it's something I've never played before. It's something I've never had the opportunity to even consider doing. I think a lot of the reason why I was even offered the opportunity to audition for the role is just because of how I looked. He's supposed to be a bigger guy, and especially a year and a half, 2 years ago, almost is when I auditioned for it. Um, I weighed a lot more, and I just kind of embodied something rare. And then I just, on top of it, like my agent joked with me. And I don't know how nice it was, but he was like, "We didn't expect you to get this." I was like, "Okay, thanks."
Thanks a
Uh,
lot.
yeah, but like there were some big names that were attached to potentially do the role, like celebs, and then
Yeah.
there were a lot of big names of people that did audition and submitted for it, and I won out for with very little on my film resume because of just this. I took this very like, I didn't lean into the comedy. I leaned into the menace of this character, the darker side, and it was written in the audition breakdown. It said comedic role, and I just, as I was reading the scene, I was like, I saw it, but it felt as equally dangerous to me as it did funny,
Right.
and I just kind of pulled together these different kind of just general iconoclastic villains that resonated with me as I read it. I made this amalgamation in my head of what I thought would make sense, and came to the arrival of a character that was relatively close to my audition
Mm.
when it ended up being on screen. And it's very humbling to like read these comments. I can't keep up with them. Like my Instagram had like 4 or 5 thousand followers on it a few weeks ago, and it's tens of thousands now already. And
Wow.
the comments just rip every single time I open my app. It's dozens, and I don't all the messages in my DMs. I can't keep up with them all, but I've tried to read through as many of them as I possibly can, and it's been very humbling. I'm incredibly honored at the joy people seem to be feeling, and the fact that people are responding well to it makes me feel like I've at least honored the material in a good way. And I approached it with that mindset. I didn't really care about like awards. That's not something I think about, and I'm grateful that someone would say something like that. But like, I looked at this with two really clear focal points, and it was one, to honor the material that Oda had written,
Right.
and two, to deliver something that the fans would appreciate,
Mm.
because ultimately that's what this is for. Anytime an actor approaches a project and is like, well, this is going to get me an award,
Right. It
that's
doesn't work
that's
out.
problematic. I actually worked
Yeah.
with a director once who, at a party that we were at, was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be my award. It's gonna be my Tony." And I remember him saying it so confidently to a group of us, and us all being like, "Okay,
If you
cool,
say
good
so.
luck." Like, yeah,
Cool.
but there's a very clear delineation between, I think, people who possess that mindset and a lack of it actually
Yeah.
occurring.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it can't. Of course, like you hear stories about people who get scripts and they're like, oh, this is special, and that's a different thing. But my goal is never to self-aggrandize. The reason, actually, ironically, that I got into doing this, that I got bit by the bug and followed a career in performance and acting the way that I did, is because there's an element to storytelling that felt cathartic and purposeful. And
Mm,
as I learned more about it, as I did it more and then studied it in college and began to tie it to the societal impacts over time, theater goes back 10,000 years. And, you see how it has, through pandemics and wars and all of these massive societal events that have implications on life and death,
mm,
theater, film and TV, all these forms of entertainment sustain because they're more than entertainment. They're a pathway to our soul. They are a way in which we hold a mirror up to ourselves. And I think the more that you do it, the more you as an actor spend time doing this thing, the more you realize what a responsibility it is.
yeah.
And I get an immense amount of pride out of participating in something culturally that elevates the conversations that we have, and that forces us to take a look at how we are and who we are. And all this to say, like, there's no award that would ever make anything like that more valid. The validity comes from the thing that you do and
Mm,
the lives that you change. And I remember seeing an interview once. Gosh, it was so long ago. I'm trying to think. Um, the, there was the woman who played the mother in Precious. God, I
okay.
can't remember her name off the top of my
Uh,
head.
yeah, exactly who you're talking
Monique.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was asked about, why. I think she was even asked about, like, why would what awards did you know that, like, awards would be coming down the pipeline or something with Precious. And she was like, well, I couldn't care about the awards. What I cared about is, I knew as I read the script, that if I could save one life, if I could change one life by delivering this performance, I knew I wasn't going to get paid well. I didn't know what the awards would be like, but just to have gotten the opportunity to, I knew this woman, the character that I
Mm,
was going to play, if I could present this story and I could save one person from their situation, that would have been worth it. That was the payment. I remember hearing that and being very moved by it. And I try to hold a similar mindset. I I've spent most of my life in this, and living paycheck to paycheck, not making a lot of money.
right.
There have been opportunities, there have been swells. Broadway can pay very well, and I've been fortunate enough to have a few really great jobs over the course of my life that I'm incredibly grateful for. But being an actor is a time of feast or famine, and there are a
Yeah.
lot of times that are lean, and there are a lot of times that you got to make something stretch for years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've been faced with some lean times in my day, and I wouldn't trade a single moment of my life, or any of the times that I was in credit debt, or any of the times when I was, wondering if I shouldn't have bought that extra meal out because, oh my gosh, will I have my rent money in time?
Yeah.
Because I've lived a life that has brought me truth and meaning and purpose. And um, of course, like, people, when fans come out and they say stuff like that, like, it warms my heart. It's like, what a blessing to be in a position like this. But uh, for me, I will always do this because of what it will provide for a community, not for what it could provide for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, being an artist of the screen or the stage, you, you'll see, like, when I assume that you'll see this when you start going to, like, the Comic Cons and all the conferences and these things where the fans are actually truly out there, kind of um, sharing, trying to connect with you, whatever else. There's it's a wonderful thing to create something that people get joy from, and you don't. you can't take it for granted. It's a lot. Again, it's a lot like sports in the sense of if I'm a basketball player and I'm in the NCAA tournament this week, how many people in the world get to experience that? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you can't take it for granted. You can't just assume because you're a great player that this X thing is going to happen for you. So I think regardless of what you're doing, especially when you're doing it as an actor, you need to really appreciate the moment because the moment doesn't last forever, and it's given to very few people. So um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
One Piece is like, I mean, when it comes to the genre, it is a pretty big. It's like saying you're in a Marvel movie in a lot of ways. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. It's crazy.
it's crazy. I was I was watching an interview that you did, and you were talking about your experience wearing the prosthetics, and I was just like, wow, dude. I'm like, wait, I would have been like, say, what, 125 degrees inside, and what? I mean, that must have been. I don't even know, like, what was that like? Because I mean, I assume you've never actually had to do like prosthetics on that level before, correct?
No, I did uh you wear wigs on Broadway and you can wear some like bulky costumes with layers. I played Dewey Finn in School of Rock, which is the Jack Black role. And he's on stage for like 2 hours and 30 minutes out of a 2 hour and 40 minute show.
Jeez.
He just never leaves, and he sings a high F above C and a skrelt. And in the contract they only let you do 5 shows a week instead of 8 because it's so physically and vocally demanding, and they literally hire somebody to be your alternate 3 shows a week so that you can rest to
Wow.
do this role. And there's never been a role like that before. There's never been a show on Broadway, at least that I've heard of, where they only let you be in 5 performances a week because they need your body to hold up over the course of a year. And those costumes are heavy. They're made of corduroy. You're sweating and carrying guitars around and jumping off of platforms. And I thought, oh well, it'll never get harder than that. And the first 2 days on set of One Piece in that armor were the 2 hardest days of my entire career, up until the next time that I wore it, the next time I went to set, where we did it for
How
literally 8 days, nine
how
nine
how
days.
how long does it take to put it on? Like,
Yeah, makeup chair would be anywhere from like 90 minutes to 210, 215, just depending on like how many people they had. Sometimes it would be one, or sometimes it would be two. And then when you get out of the makeup chair for wig and the jaw thing that like
the
connects to the
jaw
back of your
thing
head.
blew me away. Like you're talking and it's moving, and I'm like, that has got to be like very odd feeling.
It was, yeah. It also like obscures the dial. You can kind of hear it, like almost sounds like I
Mm.
have a lisp at certain points. But after that, then there's another anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to get into all the prosthetic armor pieces and the cape and the hood and everything. All told a little under 3 hours to do it all. And yeah, it weighs about 77, 78 pounds, I think they said, for all the things together. And then add on top of it that, our prosthetics guy had like one of those laser thermometers. And I don't remember what the exact thing was, but in Celsius, it translated to somewhere between like 120 to 130 degrees, depending on the day.
Wow.
And, it was so hot and heavy. And it also like, I've been telling this to a couple people lately, like, when you sit down in it, it like lifts you into a position and holds your arm into place. So you're like, it's actually harder to sit in it than it is to stand, because A, it's very heavy anyway, but B, it's incredibly hot. And then C, your arms are just like locked into like a stocks in a town center where people are throwing tomatoes at you.
So are you
And
like prisoner of this thing? Like, can you go to the
oh yeah,
bathroom or anything?
yeah, like you have to have. I had a team of, and this is like, thank goodness it was on Netflix and through Tomorrow Studios, where they had a budget,
Hmm.
because I mean, I couldn't have done it if it was just like a single PA. I had a team of about 5 people whose job was just to be kind of working with me between takes, where they would be doing makeup and hair fixes and holding, like, at one point it started as one of those little portable fans, but it wasn't strong enough, so they got a leaf blower and were holding it and aiming it at me to blow air at me.
Wow.
And somebody whose job it was to, like, put their hands under the armor and lift it up a little for me so that it was taking some weight off, and they would, like, take it off between takes sometimes and just let my body cool off. I had somebody whose job was to carry a cooling suit bag. I had a vest on with
Wow.
piping that ran ice water all through my undershirt, so that it
Wow.
would kind of bring my core temperature down. But yeah, we're talking 10 to 12 hour days and just this absolute gauntlet of a costume to wear. And it was by far the hardest I've ever worked in my life, but it was also the most rewarding and fun experience I've ever had. I knew that I would never have the opportunity to do something like this again,
Yeah.
and that B, the stakes were as high as they were because a project like this is so rare to come across.
Yeah.
So I just went into every day with, like, this mindset of, who cares if it's hard? Like, you're doing it now and you'll never have to
Yeah.
do it again. Go have fun, act your pants off, try to, make the most of this opportunity, and just know that it'll be over after you wrap shooting and you won't have to wear it anymore. Whereas, when you do a Broadway show, you're doing it for a year. So, it's like, you just kind of bite down and go through it. And honestly, it was the time of my life. I really had never worked harder, but I've also really never had more fun.
I'm sorry, but it does sound fun. Like I know it was hard too,
Oh yeah.
but I've always I've always seen like these characters in like sci-fi and like Darth Vader and different characters have to wear all these the Mandalorian and whatever, and they wear all these costumes and stuff. And to me, that's that's kind of like part of the fun of it in a lot of ways because you're embodying this character that like everybody knows, and it's you're fully immersed in this individual. And for me, the coolest thing would be like, I wonder for you, how cool was it when you finally saw the finished product?
Oh man, surreal. So surreal. I actually, I got to watch a couple of, like, the director came up and showed me a few things on the day when we actually filmed the final um throne room scene. That was my final scene that we filmed. We spent 9 days filming that last scene. Um, and he showed me a couple of things, but I otherwise I didn't see anything while I was there. And
Mm.
not because I couldn't. I had an opportunity to see it, but I kind of was like, I'd like to be surprised. I saw a couple things I needed to see, but I didn't see the whole thing. And then even in ADR, like, they had me come in and do some vocal stuff. And I actually remember at that point being kind of curious. And I was like, is it cool if we go back and watch that? And the guy was like, I'm not allowed to, so I was like, okay, it's okay. No worries. No, it's fine. And I thought about it. And about a month before the show came out, I was in touch with production about um, something, and they had offered me the opportunity to watch the show. They were like, "We'll send you a link. You can watch it if you like." And I said, "No, you know what? I kind of want to just be surprised."
Mm.
So yeah, as in, like, the time leading up to the rollout of the show, I'm just, hanging out in New York and kind of like getting ready for the release just like everybody else. And then when they flew me out to LA for the premiere, people were like, "So, what did you think of the show?" And I was like,
I don't
"I haven't
know.
watched it yet. I'm gonna see it on release day, just like all of you." And honestly, I'm glad that it happened that way,
Mm.
because I'll be honest with you, I was a little nervous when it dropped. Like, leading up to it, I was really excited, and on the day it came out, I got very nervous. I was like,
Mm.
"Oh no, this is it. Either my career is over or it's just beginning. It's one of the two."
Right.
And I kind of avoided social media ish, and I didn't watch it for a few days because I was like, the implications are high. I don't know if I can bring myself to do this. And then I started to kind of like peek my eye into Instagram a bit and see, and the feedback was very positive, and I was like, okay, just do it. Yeah, the weekend after it released, I think I started on the 13th or something. I just kind of ripped through the full season in like 2 or 3 days. I will say, like, I didn't know what it was before I auditioned, but once I did find out that I got it, I watched season one and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I people talk poorly about adaptations often, and I won't comment on that because I honestly don't see many of them. But I tend to be a little more forgiving. I think that art for art's sake is more important than being a judge or a arbiter of it. I think that there have been people who have given a tough look to some adaptations in the past that um, I don't necessarily agree with, but irrespective of that, like, I understand people hold their source material very highly. They want adaptations to meet a certain bar. And when I got the show, they sent me the manga to read.
Oh,
Digitally, I got to read the full manga series from the beginning up to my arc. And I spent a few weeks ripping through it. And I read the first, 200 chapters of One Piece in
wow.
preparation for the show with glee. I loved it. It was so great. And then I watched season one and I was like, oh my God, they hit it out of the park. I
Mm,
mean, I just, like, from a fan perspective, love the show. And that's why I went into it with this mindset of like, you have to deliver for Oda. You have to tell the story that he set out to tell, and B, you have to bring it for the fans. It's very clear why they love this show.
right.
And I just went into it with that mindset, and I am a fan. Like, I instantly became a huge One Piece fan because of it, and I'm blown away with what they did. So to be a part of it is like, yeah, I mean, it is kind of like being in a Marvel movie in a way, but more importantly, it's an honor. I mean, it's a responsibility. Like, I I I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful to be a part of this, a small part of this very big One Piece family. I just hope that the work that we did resonates with people over the years to come, because we all worked really, really hard to deliver this final product. And in particular, I think season two seems to be getting really good feedback, like
Yeah.
in terms of even compared to the first season, which is incredible, by the way. It really does seem like people think it leveled up, and I agree. I think that I remove myself from the equation. I'm
Mm,
only in 3 episodes of the 8, and speaking for the other ones as well, like the the season opener in Town, going to Little Island with David and Sophia, they're so menacing.
mm,
The Whiskey Peak episode, which is just incredible, and then obviously, like, even in my episodes, I'm kind of a um yes, I'm the big bad, but the story is built around Chopper and Dr. Hiraluk and Correa and the Straw Hats building their relationship with the new member of their team. This really remarkable story about this little reindeer boy who's just stealing everyone's hearts.
mm.
And the fact that I get to be a part of that is just like, it's the honor of my life, and I'm so grateful, and I hope that people continue to resonate with it.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, the show itself has done something that is kind of tough to do, like is to take such a beloved piece of of art and um make it as a live action show. So to your credit, I mean, to the credit of the show, it's done a wonderful job with that. The fans have come out and have been very vocal as far as their support of the show. Hats off to them, because I mean it is a tough thing to pull off. I know, especially when on the same platform, Netflix, they have the animated show as well. it's almost like putting two pieces of content side by side and saying which one you like, and they both, I think, are well done. And hopefully that season 3 will be around, and season 4 will be around, and all the and
Yeah,
keep going.
they're filming season 3 right now.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, I obviously I have a few friends on the show, and um, they they've said that what they're doing is just incredible, and I can't wait to see it. I'm
Mm.
I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I get to be a fan again and
Yeah.
tune in with everyone else. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. The Alabasta arc is just I didn't allow myself to read past the Drum Island arc
Mm.
in filming because I didn't want to overinform myself, and I didn't want to kind of like put the cart before the horse or bury the lead in terms of what his story is. I wanted to focus on that. And I told myself that I would allow myself to read past the Drum Island arc once season 2 came out. So my hope is that this summer I'm going to be able to dive in and read further. But everything I hear about the
Mm.
Alabasta arc is that it's glorious, and obviously, my friends Charithra and Sendel and Joe and everyone are all a big part of that story. And yeah, I'm on the edge of my seat to see what they're doing. I'm sure it's going to be incredible.
Now that you have this character under your belt, are there any other types of characters that you haven't played yet that you know, in the future be like, that might be kind of interesting to do, this kind of different kind of characters?
Yeah. I mean, it would be. I spent the vast majority of my career um, doing comedy, and that's partially my own doing. It was um, I went to Columbia in Chicago because I wanted to study realism. Like my ideal path as an actor, very early. One of the things that influenced me was when I was in high school doing theater. Our high school theater director took us to took students who wanted to sign up for this voluntary field trip to go see a production of A Tale of Two Cities at the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, and it rocked my world. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go study theater at a credible collegiate institution that could teach the classics like Eugene O'Neill and Tennessee Williams, and uh, just do kitchen sink realism. And my dream was to become an ensemble member at Steppenwolf Theater, like Gary Sinise and John Malkovich, and
Mm.
do that kind of work. And while I was there, they opened up a new program at my college called the Comedy Studies Program through the Second City, where Columbia College offered you a semester's worth of class credits, 18 class credits, to go study comedy at the Second City. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, well, I've always kind of enjoyed being a goofball. I'll just apply and see if I get in. And I did. And I did this program, and it ended up getting me my first agent. And they just started submitting me for comedy. And I sang in the show because it was like a musical review, kind of like you'd see on SNL or any of the Second City stages. And it led to me doing a few shows on the smaller stages of Second City. And then I did my first ever professional job, was a musical in Chicago. And a producer from the Book of Mormon came and saw that and got me into audition for the Book of Mormon. And a year and a half later, I got cast in that. And all of a sudden, the trajectory of my career changed just based on opportunities that presented themselves at the time. And I kind of got into this world of comedy, and then musical comedy and musical theater. And I mean, I've been very blessed. I've been very lucky to have been in that world, but it wasn't where I saw myself going at all. I
Mm.
had never taken a singing lesson in my life. So the fact that it kind of developed that way was just very, very lucky. But it wasn't where I saw myself going. And I had this image of going in a different direction. And part of me would still like to do that. Part of me still has this yearning within my soul to, um, uh, kind of expand upon that and go into the more dramatic elements of what I do. And that's what I trained for. And I'm like I said, I'm currently I'm in the process of losing weight for a role. I do have something coming around the bend that I'm really excited about. When I was doing Almost Famous on Broadway, I became friends with Cameron Crowe, who's an Academy Award winner and one of the greats of our generation. And he was very kind in that he has invited me to play a small part in his next Joni Mitchell movie that he's doing. And
Nice.
I'm not sure when we'll get to do that, but whenever that comes around the bend, that'll be an opportunity for me to show people a new side of myself. That's a dramatic role, and it's going to be a new chapter for me. And my hope is to continue down that path. I would love to have the opportunity to do more things that show people a different side of me. And I'm kind of rebuilding my um, internal goal list, the way that I kind of have envisioned the way things are going for me to be able to pursue that path a little bit more.
Well, the thing about acting is when you like doors open other doors,
Hmm.
and some of them you see, some of them you don't see until they're right up on you, and like I can remember like one day being home when I early on in my acting career. One time I did I had done some work for Spike Lee back in the day. I think it was might have been Juice or think oh no, it was Distinguished Gentleman or something like that. And I to be honest, I hadn't really thought about what I was going to do next or anything. So I was kind of like just going where the opportunities were. And so but one day I was home and I got this call from this casting director who says to me, "Hey, we got your headshot. We want you to come and audition for this role." And I was like, "Where did they get my headshot from? I did not send my headshot around." Come to find out, it was one of the assistant directors on Spike Lee's film that was branching off to do his own stuff, Ernest Robinson. And he basically saw me on set there and got my headshot. And so I was just like, that's interesting that like opportunities just kind of like, and that's why I say to people, be, when you go on set, act professional, be nice, treat people kindly, because you just never know where your next thing is going to happen. And it might not be something you even planned on, like going, like you said, I mean, you hadn't planned to go on that route and it just happens. And I think that's okay because it's where you're supposed to be and it's getting you where you need to be, where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, life, uh, you can never make assumptions
Right.
in this life, or presume that you have things figured out, because something is always going to change. And I could never have seen that something like this would go. I have an action figure. I there,
That's right. You've got an
I
action
like
figure. Holy
I
shit.
I know me, like I
That's
can't believe
cool.
I've got two. There's
Did
like a
you
little mini one too. Yeah,
did you
it's crazy.
do you have it? Do you have your
Oh
own?
yeah.
Oh, you do.
Oh,
Okay, cool.
yeah. I pre-ordered it for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
how often do you get an action figure, dude?
Oh yeah. No, and it's gonna live in the box. I'm not doing anything with it.
Oh,
It's gonna
that's so
That's a
cool.
keepsake for sure. Yeah.
Can you imagine you walking around Target and hey, that's me. What's going on?
It's crazy, man. I've got a few friends text me. My one of my old buddies, Tony Clarno, was at the Target with his kids, and he sent me a picture and was like, "Hey, look who I found." It's crazy, man. I again, like, man, especially during COVID,
Hmm.
our industry just took such a massive hit,
Yeah.
and then the strikes happened, and for a good 4.5, 5 years, just things were awful. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
everybody was just really struggling in our industry. Unless you were a millionaire, everything was really, really upside down, and people were really hurting. And that I was included in that, and I was seriously considering a career change.
Mm.
because I went literally almost half a decade without a real good opportunity. I did one job during that period, and um, it- everyone was hurting, myself included. And One Piece saved my life. I wouldn't even say it saved my life so much as it just saved my career.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a point where I was looking at IT schools to go learn how to code so that I could just have a future-proof career.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing I didn't, because 6 months after I got cast in One Piece, AI started removing all those jobs for people.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you just never know what's going to happen. And it's also, like the timing was ironic, but also it's a testament to a reminder to do what speaks to you, not what feels safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate in that I've been able to keep that going.
What was what's the best piece of advice that someone's ever given you, and from?
Ooh, that is a great question. I've gotten a lot of great advice from a lot of people. I've had many mentors who have really helped shape my path. Um, yeah, oh man, yeah, that's a good question. I
I stump
think,
people with this one all the time.
I guess I'll say I'll keep it a little less grand in scope in terms of like life advice, and more specific to advice I've gotten for this line of work. Um, and it is from one of my teachers that I had at Columbia. Um, her name was Kimberly Senior. She taught me so much about uh, the structure of the work that we do and dramaturgy, and um, she's one of the people who certainly had the biggest influence on me as an artist. And as I was coming up in the education portion of my training, um, she she taught my text analysis course at college, and um, she imparted some really great wisdom onto me, where she talked about the benefit of understanding who you are when you audition for things. Um, you have to realize when you walk into the room that the casting director, the director, the producer, whoever it is that's sitting on the other side of the table, they're trying to solve a problem, and they
Mhm.
want you to be the solution. They want you to be the person that ends their day, that says, We did it. That's
Mm.
it." And I remember there was a period of time in my life where I was just, I would psych myself out with fear walking into an audition, being like, I'm going to ruin this for myself. I'm not good enough. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
As soon as you change the perspective that you take, and you look at that doorway when you walk through it as you're going into audition for these people that are deciding the fate of your future, it, instead of putting them on a pedestal, just say screw it. Walk through the door and say, I have a solution to your problem. And as soon as you can give yourself that freedom, you shed yourself of most of the anxiety that you possess, and you turn it into excitement. And the part of the advice that she gave was to say, that's the secret, is recognizing that, like, um, Olympians have one opportunity every 4 years to prove who they are in
Mm.
their industry. Being an actor is similar, but their stakes are significantly higher. They have one chance every 4 years to set the record, to get the gold, or even just place. And Olympians have to learn how to turn anxiety into excitement, is they are the same emotion at their core. They initiate the same physical response. It's just a matter of you and your brain locking in on it. And I think that advice can be applied to much more than auditioning. It can be applied to your life.
Mm.
Turning anxiety into excitement, taking control and harnessing the moment, and recognizing that any problem that you face in your life, you could potentially be the solution to. There's so much power in that. And we as people, if we have the opportunity to do something like that, it should also become our goal, our responsibility to harness that mindset so that we can bring our best selves to the moment and try to be the solution rather than think that getting it is a problem.
Right. That's a great way of kind of thinking about that. I hope a few people have listened to this podcast will take that to heart. I've got some
Me too.
fun questions for you before we end up
Hit
the
me, baby.
podcast. Okay. Night owl or early bird?
Early bird. I had a period in my life where I would burn the candle at both ends, see the sunrise. I go home and I hang with my dog. I want to watch my stories. Yeah, I'm you know I'm happy to keep it chill.
Speaking of your stories, what was the last show you binge watched?
One Piece season 2.
I was gonna say, yeah, yeah.
Removing that, I just watched Heated Rivalry and I thought it was excellent.
Okay, you're the second person in a row who's answered the same question, the question the same way.
Mm-hmm.
What is about? I've not seen this show. I have no idea what it's about.
Oh, it's spectacular. I mean, and honestly, people are talking a lot about the sex in the show, and there is sex in the show,
Mhm.
but it actually shows like less nudity than like Game of Thrones. It's a love story, and it's I think also because I grew up as an athlete, there's a part of me that loves a sports story. But Connor Story and Hudson Williams are really like two of the best up and coming young actors in our industry, and the performances that they both deliver are like truly exceptional. And it was incredibly moving. The entire ensemble is so excellent. It's so well cast. It's so well crafted. And I'm really glad and excited that it's getting a couple more seasons because
Hmm.
I was enthralled.
Okay. I'll put it on the list of
You
things.
know what else I watched about a month ago that was really incredible? I'm a little bit of a like a Star Wars, MCU, DCU comic book nerd.
Okay.
I loved Wonder Man.
Well, Wonder Man was great, right?
Oh my gosh. I think it's the best thing Marvel's done since
Yeah.
Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
I also I'm higher on some of the phase 5 and 6 stuff,
Hmm.
or say phase 4 and 5 stuff that Marvel has done than most people are, just because I love the world, and I love that they're expanding on it. But Wonder Man is one of my 2 or 3 favorite entities since Endgame.
It was. I loved how it handled the whole being an actor piece of his puzzle.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot of relatability in that side of the story too. Yeah.
What was the last playlist you listened to?
I have a really great workout playlist. I go to the gym at least 5 days a week, usually 6,
Mm-hmm.
and I've crafted this like really exceptional playlist that has all recommendations from friends that I never would have been able to do on my own. So it's kind of like a group curation thing, but it's got
Cool.
everything from Ray to Goose to Mastodon to uh, a couple of young up and coming artists. One of my buddies who's an artist is on it. Yeah, it's a really good workout playlist. I can actually send it to you if you want, and you can give it to your listeners.
But yeah, definitely. I love a good playlist. I love music.
Me too.
Um,
Oh, I've also been hammering Olivia Dean's new album. I absolutely love that new record that she just put out. It's so good. Not a
okay.
single skip. Yeah.
Okay. I will put that down on my. I'm writing this down here at the moment so I can check it out on Spotify on my way home today. Um, Last two questions. If you had a rock band, what would it be called?
Ooh. Uh, I did have a band in college. we were called Old Peoria, which is the name of a road that we used to go drive past that we just liked the name of. If I had one now, wow, that's a great question. I guess I would call it, oh man, the anxiety.
The Anxiety. Actually, that's not a bad name. It's actually not a bad name. And the last question: what's next for you? Where can people find out what you're doing next and stay up with what you're doing in the future?
Yeah, right now, just looking forward to this upcoming summer. I'm gonna dive into the One Piece manga, I hope. But I'm just my next big goal is to try and get out and meet the fans. I want to come do the conventions and expos and meet these really wonderful people that have welcomed me with open arms to their world. And yeah, at some point, this hoping that this Joni Mitchell project gets to take off, and we'll see when that might happen. But I'm just preparing for that role, and
So wait, is this going to be a piece? Is this going to be about Joni Mitchell or?
Yeah, Cameron's been writing a biopic about Joni. They've been working closely together for a long time, and it's not a secret. He gave me permission to tell people last fall that we're going to do it when we do it. We just don't know when we're doing it. But until then, my goal is just to keep trying to expand the world in which I get to utilize my skills as an actor, and I hope some more opportunities come my way. But people can check in with me on Instagram. I'm at rob.colletti. And they can check in with me on TikTok, which I just started doing, which is just Rob Colletti without the dot in the middle.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just going to be here in New York, seeing some plays during Tony season, and hanging with my dog.
Well, you're in New York. Oh, then I have to invite you on for May 4th. We're doing at my studio. We're doing a whole May 4th celebration.
Oh, great! Please, yeah, would love to.
Yeah, it's gonna be. You have no idea what's coming, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Send me the details. I'd love to.
I'm such a nerd.
I am too.
Rob, this was great. I'm so happy for you as far as all the success that you're having right now, and it's well deserved because you could not be more humble and more deserving of the success that you're doing.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
And I am going to as soon as I hang up this, I am going to message my nephew.
Get your nephew on the phone?
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, well, hey, man, I told you to keep watching the podcast. So
no, it was a real pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening. Make sure to follow Rob on Instagram at rob.colletti. And if you want to follow him on TikTok, just remove the dot.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me.
I'm new to TikTok. I just started doing it, and it's been fun. But
I'll follow you because I'm still new to it as well. So you can follow me at the Daron Jenkins. This podcast will be out very soon. If you want to be on the show, you can always suggest yourself as well. But Rob, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me, man.
Thank you for having me.